Hey, it is John Acuff. Thought I'd do a Ask Me Anything. It's Thursday afternoon, and I thought it'd be fun to just jump on and say, hey, what's going on? Is there anything I can help you with? Any questions? Often the questions I get are things about public speaking, writing books, running a business, kind of all these things that I work on in my own life. For the last 7 years, I've run my own business. I've written 7 books. I've got a new one coming out in April. So if there's anything that I can help you with, anything like that I've learned that I can share, social media, building a personal brand, being a dad, being married, whatever. Love to answer some questions. So if you have any questions, throw them up in the chat. Otherwise, what I'm going to do is I need to update this board. I thought I would go ahead and update this. It says Soundtracks. That's the title of my new book. I need to update it because I'm doing an Instagram post. Here's all the letters. Like I just have a bunch of letters and it takes me forever to figure out, okay, what am I trying to spell? I think what I'm going to spell on the board is, are you seeing this? I'm realizing that on Instagram, a lot of my content doesn't get seen by a lot of people. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, who's actually seeing what I'm doing? And so I'm going to take a picture of me holding this thing that says, are you seeing this? And then be like, when are you seeing it? Did you see it this day? Because I'm just trying to figure out how do I do a better job of engaging with people on Instagram, because I'm trying to really engage with folks. So Jay Helms, live and clear on the YouTube. Thank you so much, buddy. So I'm going to be looking, okay, what's the shortest way to say? Is it, are you seeing this? Yeah, I'll say that. So are you, I'll need an R for are you seeing this? I'll need some S's. Hopefully I have those. Do you write your books in just a regular Word document, at least at first? Pauline, great question. Sometimes people ask me that and they hope I'm going to say like, no, I use this cool software that makes it easier. I just use Word. I've written my 7 books in Word, Microsoft Word. I know some people like Scribner. I think that's what it's called. I've heard good things about that. I personally haven't used it, so I can't really speak to that. But I just use Word, and usually it's chapters. Like the document's too massive all at once. It becomes unwieldy. So I use chapters, and I'll do chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4. And then eventually I'll print it all out and go, okay, let me navigate my way through this. Okay, Jennifer Haston. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. Excited about your new book. Can you talk a little about how you keep coming up with fresh content and how you handle attributing people with their quotes? Yeah, so 2 questions. One, the biggest thing I do is I try to listen to what people are talking about. I think with nonfiction books, I can't speak to fiction books, but with nonfiction books, I think the first thing you have to figure out is what do people need? Like, what are they talking about right now? What's a challenge they have? What's a felt need is what they say, or what's a real problem? And so I try to find a real issue, and then I try to find if I have a genuine passion and expertise about it, and then I try to find, does it fit the market, like right now? So for overthinking, I have a researcher named Mike Peasley. We asked 10,000 people if they struggle with overthinking, and 99.5% of people said yes. So as an author, if you ever find a topic that 99.5% of people say yes to, you write that book. Now, there's a caveat there. If I ask people like, do you like cats? And 90% of people said yes, I'm not a cat expert. I wouldn't write that book because that book would suck. Like you can always tell when somebody wrote a trend and they have in my opinion, no personal connection, no personal expertise. Like the amount of books that are going to be poorly, quickly written during the pandemic and then released. Like I wrote this in a month in the pandemic. They're good. Those books are going to suck. Like they are. So I try to have some, like I'm an overthinker. So I felt like I had expertise in that. I learned something like 15 years ago that really helped me with it that I've been working on. So I felt like I had some background in it. That's kind of how I kept it fresh. As far as attributing people with their quotes, like that's easy. I keep a list of it. I always ask them, I share, I send them the section of the book and say, hey, does this reflect what you said? Does this feel good to you? Did I misread something you said? Did I forget a word? And so I always get the permission multiple times. All right. How do you find the balance between appropriate due diligence and paralysis of analysis? Jeff Klein, how do you find the balance? I think the balance is ongoing. I think there's times where I'm really moving along at a good pace and then I kind of ricochet to the other. That's what I think the next book's going to be about. I'm working on a new idea right now. And so trying to figure out, how do I not go from one extreme to the other? Because sometimes I'm like super, super detailed, but I'm so detailed that I get stuck and I get kind of paralyzed with perfectionism. And then I swing over to really, really aloof, no details. And so I'm trying to figure out, what does that look like? But for me, one of the things that's helpful, Jeff, is I asked Patsy Claremont, who's brilliant. She's brilliant. She's written 30 books. And I said, how do you write best? How do you write? And I was asking, like, in the morning, at night. And she says, I write best under obligation. And I love that. She said, like, I need a book deal. I need a deadline. And it's the same with me. And it freed me up, because I think people think they have to, like, oh, I follow my whim. I just write because I have to write. No, she's like, I need a deadline. I need a book deal. So like for me, I'll show you, I'll pull this up, and I need to give a link to this. This is my miniature little whiteboard that somebody gave me. Like, look at that thing, dude. It's so cute. So I need to write things down and like write down, like, I have an obligation. I told this client I will have this thing to them by this day. And I don't mess around with that. That matters to me to keep my word. And so that's helpful. Having a deadline, having an obligation helps me not get stuck in paralysis. I might get paralyzed overanalyzing things, but if I've promised a client, I don't have the luxury of overanalyzing it. All right. Jay Helms, want to have you on the podcast. Yeah, there's a form on, if you go to acuff.me, there's a form about podcasts. So like, you certainly fill that out. We'll see if it lines up with what I'm talking about, what you're talking about. That'd be awesome. If it doesn't, also awesome. Like some podcasts, they've got a great content, but we just miss each other. It's not the same message and it doesn't make sense. All right. I see your videos and get the notifications right away on YouTube. You're awesome. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much, Chrisia. I really appreciate that. What made you start pushing more YouTube content in the last few months? Are you seeing good results? Josh Smith. Yeah, it's a good question, dude. It was a combination of things. One, like public speaking got put on pause. I don't think sometimes people understand my job, which is understandable. It's a weird make them up, like, cool. I love my job, but it's not as common as some other jobs. So sometimes people don't understand it. 50% of my year is traveling and going to live events. Guess what's not happening right now? Live events. So I realized, okay, I need to pivot in a couple areas. Like I need to find some new revenue streams. I need to try some new things. I felt stuck in some areas of my life. And I'm telling you guys, pivot, change, grow. And then I wasn't. So like, what a hypocrite. So I was like, okay, I need to learn how to do virtual events, and I need to learn how to do YouTube. Maybe I'll add a podcast to that down the road, but I wanted to invest in YouTube and go, okay, I like video. I'm a little intimidated by YouTube, but I've had a great friend come along and help me with my YouTube videos, and that's made all the world of difference. So that's why I started. I felt kind of like I got to develop some other stuff, and then I jumped in. All right. Jeff Klein. Let's see. As an overthinker, as a person of words, aka a writer, I love your professional way of saying negligence versus overthinking. Awesome. Thanks, Jennifer. Oh, wait. I think she was telling Jeff that. She was giving Jeff a compliment. So awesome for Jeff. Awesome. What's the best advice you've ever received? I don't think it's one thing. I think one thing that's been helpful for me, my dad told me once to surround myself with people who weren't on my payroll, because sometimes people, as a leader, if you only are spending time with people that work for you, those people can only tell you partial truth, because it's human nature that if I work for you and I see you doing something wrong, I'm not your friend in the sense of if I go tell you you're doing something wrong, you might fire me. So as I go to tell you the full truth, I'm going to pull back and go, I got a mortgage, I got a family. So you're not in real relationship. Those are coworkers, and they can be great friends, but you need people around you can be like, dude, that thing is busted. So my dad told me that. I thought that was really good. It's something I've thought about. And just relationships in general. I think the older I get, the more I invest in having real friends and real relationships. All right. Somebody, let's see. Practical as always. Thanks so much. Okay. Lisa, can you talk about your prep for public speaking, practice, etc.? I'm a pastor, so I speak weekly. All right, here, let me show you right now. I'm gonna grab some prep. So this is a speech. It's actually 3 speeches. So next week I'm filming. It's gonna be fun. I'm filming at Donald Miller's house. He has a brand new awesome place that we're filming this thing at. And it's this event called Evening of Stories. And I have to do 3 10-minute stories. So you can see, this is story 1. Like, so I've written it all out. I scripted it, and now I've been practicing it. So I know I want to hit 10 to 11 minutes. In the corner, I don't know if you can see that. In the corner, I'm writing down how long each page took. 2 minutes, 4 minutes, and I go through that. And so while I do that, I'm practicing. I'm going, okay, this didn't work. This did work. Like you can see, where is it? I think it was in story 2 that I realized, oh, okay, here you go. Dude, look, see that big X? I realized during the middle of practice, and I was like, that story is not working, dude. That story is, it's a distraction. It's taking people a different direction. So I crossed it out. So what I'm going to do between now and Monday, and it's a video, it's not a live event, I'm going to practice these over and over and over again so that I get a sense of them, so that I get comfortable. I never want to go up on stage without a couple practice sessions under my belt. So I write the whole thing. I script it. And then I try to get it to where it's chunked. That's the other thing you can see. So if you see here, it's backwards. That says Murder Hornets. This says When I Met Al. This says What Do I Do? These are stories, and they've been chunked. And you can see that I've said in here, okay, like highlighted these words. These are clues to me to help me remember. So I know when I say Counting Crows, I know what story is connected to that. So that is like a gingerbread trail back to that story. That's how I practice. But I practiced today on something for next week. Okay. Get Up. Do you script it, or is it freewheeling, or is it a mix? It's a mix. It's a mix. I don't feel like I'm a great riffer. Like maybe some people are awesome at like turning on the camera and then creating something amazing. I'm not. Like I like to know where I'm going. Like in the same way as a speech, if somebody said, we want you to do a 10-minute speech and we want it to be good, I would work on it. Like I would put in work. I would write it. I treat the Get Up, I treat all my YouTube videos the same way. Now I will say that there's some where I know the core ideas and I'm going to get on and I'm going to kind of talk about them, but not have it scripted. Other ones, I'm going to know exactly where I'm going and what points I want to make. There was this weird thing that happened, not weird, just a normal thing, I guess, a few years ago where I realized that I was not using notes in speeches, not because it served the audience, but because it served my ego. So I was not using notes because I wanted the audience to go, wow, he doesn't even need notes. And then I'd forget stuff that I thought would help them as I tried to impress them with what, like my memorization. So I constantly have to remember, like I'll use notes. I'll have scripted ideas if I feel like it serves you, the audience, better. It doesn't serve you if I just impress you by memorizing something. Like if I forget a chunk of copy that I think is important, that I worked hard on, that I think will help you, I haven't served you by trying to memorize it and then forgetting it. I'd much rather have notes, hit all my copy, do the best job I can, and use the notes, and you walk away going, man, I learned these 3 things when I could have forgotten one of the 3 things if I tried to just, okay, I memorized it. I gotta have it memorized. Trip or Tyler? Ooh, that's tough. I gotta go with Trip. I've seen Trip like 10 times this year. Tyler is more like, what is Tyler more like for me? Tyler, I see him like once every 3 years. Like Tyler is like a special event. Where Trip and I see each other all the time. So I'm gonna choose Trip. Tyler's like a special event. All right. How do you break through your messages idea thing? Content and platforms are so plentiful. How do you get seen? How do you get seen? I think that the thing for me is like you keep plugging away, you keep practicing. Like talk to me a year from now at how I've done social media, how I've done YouTube. Like I've had some videos that I thought, oh, this is going to be content that gets me seen. And then they just kind of sit there and they have a couple hundred views, but they don't go anywhere. So I think it's like anything else. You have to practice it to get better. Like I know that the video of like, here's how much money I made on YouTube. I worked really hard at that one because I thought it was an interesting idea. And it seems like often people are like, I made $1 billion. And it's like them posing with cars. And I knew mine was going to be the opposite of that. So I thought that'd be fun. So I worked really hard on that. But I won't find good content unless I'm in the mix kind of like working on all my content. So I think that like when you say stand out, I just think it takes time. The second thing I'd say is I think you got to know which words you can own. So I know, for instance, that like when it comes to public speaking, corporate speaking, humor is my niche. There's a million good public speakers, but a lot of them aren't funny. And so I know that I like to be funny. I work hard at it. It's something that I really enjoy. And it's also rare in my niche of corporate speaking. So I'm going to hone that. I'm going to work on that. That's something where I can stand out. It would be a lot harder for me if I said, okay, I need to stand out on how to make $1 million as an entrepreneur overnight. Like that's a really crowded space right now. It just is. And I don't have expertise on that. So I try to find, what do I think is missing from the market? What do I actually have expertise on? What do I actually enjoy? And can I combine those things to stand out? Carrie Moss, when you pivoted to virtual, how long did it take before your clients took you up on it? Looking forward to the new book. Thanks, Terry. I appreciate that. So that's a good question. I mean, I would say, I don't know. It's not one-to-one. Like it's just not. I think I've had a couple things happen. One, clients are putting events next year. So they're going, hey, dude, we are still in. We just moved our event a year out. So I've had stuff in the fall of 2020 move to the fall of 2021. That makes complete sense to me. At the same time, I've had people go, you know what? We were going to do a live event. We still need to do the event. We're going to do it virtual, but it's not one-to-one. So as a public speaker, you can't go into this new world. I don't think any employee right now, I don't care what your job is, like, dude, if you go in thinking it'll be a virtual version of my old job, you're sunk. If you work at a mall, like I'm talking to a huge retail chain. They have stores in every mall in America. They can't go, okay, we'll just do our whole business now digitally. They have to come up with all these different new things. And I think it's the same with public speaking. So you can't go in thinking it's going to be one-to-one because it's not. Adam Rico. It's a great last name, Adam Rico. I'm just curious, who's your agent and publisher for your new book? My agent is who's been my agent for the last 7 years. It's Yates and Yates. Curtis Yates and Mike Salisbury are my specific agents within Yates and Yates. And then Baker is publishing the book, which I'm super excited about. I've never worked with Baker before, and they've just absolutely crushed it at every step of the way. It's been so much fun. Alan Fay, do you ever miss stuff Christians like? I do. Jesus does. That's funny. I guess in some ways, but in other ways, like I had done that joke. Like I felt like the joke was so thin by the time I stopped it. I regret that I didn't officially end it. I'm not good at ending things. Like if you don't know like that, the site he's asking about, I had this site called Stuff Christians Like. I'm a pastor's kid, grew up in the church, and it was 10 years ago, and it was making fun of all these kind of silly things we do within church culture. And I had a blast doing it, and the community was amazing. And we built 2 kindergartens in Vietnam. Like we raised $30,000 in 18 hours to build a kindergarten in Vietnam, and we're like, what? So we doubled down and built a second one and raised another 30 grand. Amazing experience. But by the end of it, dude, I'd done 7 years of like, here's the crazy thing about worship leaders, and it just felt like I'd stretched that joke so thin. I do love that Zondervan, and I was going to point somewhere, they re-released the book. They redesigned it, re-released it. I love that. Like, I think they did an awesome job with that. So if you've never seen it, definitely check it out. It's still, like, what was fun is it still holds up. Like, the ideas and the jokes still held up. I was excited about that, but I didn't feel like it was time. Like, it was time for me not to actively blog that idea. The re-release of the book, all day. So glad they did that. We'll continue to tell people about that. Consistently writing the blog, I felt like I was done. All right. Ooh. Top 3 prized possessions, non-human. Ooh, I'll show you one of them. It's right here. My parents gave me this. Some of you don't know Roy Acuff. Roy Acuff. Oh, look, you can see my ring light. Look, you think this skin is naturally this gorgeous? It's not. It's 100% not. We'll put that right on Roy's face. Roy Acuff was first cousins with my grandfather. He used to always get invited to family reunions, and it was BYOI, bring your own instrument. So Roy Acuff is known as the king of country music. He helped found the Grand Ole Opry. If you watch the Ken Burns special on country music, he's all in it. and we're related. And this is a poster for when he ran for governor, and it's autographed. And my mom and dad got it for me. And it's definitely one of my favorite I think you said favorite possessions, non-human. That's definitely up there. I haven't hung it yet because this room is like 98% bookshelves. And then they're not really prized possessions. They're just something that I really have fun with, like Legos. Like these, I love doing Lego sets. Like that's a Porsche, that's a Porsche. I'm working on the Bugatti right now, so I'm enjoying those. How do you write a book if you lack the skills? Am I hopeless? Education wasn't important, but I feel like I have a great story to tell. Yeah, so you write the best book you can, and then the second book is even better than the first one, and the third book is even better than the fourth one. Or you partner with somebody who's great at writing books. That's another avenue. Like there's a ton of great writers out there that you can partner with. Nobody is good at writing their first book. They're just not. You can't judge that first attempt as if it should be great. That's one of the lessons. Like you shouldn't be great at things you've never done. So every time that voice of fear or doubt tells you you suck at writing, you should say, yeah, I know. I've never written a book. Like I probably suck at hang gliding too. Like that's the reality. The video about storytelling is great. I love your clarity about what storytelling is. Oh, great. Thanks, Josh. How do you study humor and get better at incorporating funny stuff in your writing without detracting from the more serious point? Yeah, you have to like add it carefully. Great question, Andrea. Here's how I do it. I use humor to break the tension in certain moments. So imagine like you're telling something that's tense and it's tense and it's tense. And then if you zig and release the tension, like the room can go, okay, whew. Like, all right. And humor does that. So that's one of the ways that I'll add some humor in. I study it by studying great comedians. So Gary Gulman, Nate Bargatze, John Mulaney, Maria Bamford. Maria Bamford is fantastic. Love her stuff. So I study comedians. I watch their stuff. I watch 100 clips of comedians for every one about business speakers that I watch because I'm their word selection. Gary Gulman is crafting each word deliberately, and he's delivering it like he hasn't crafted each word. It's really beautiful. So I study a lot of them. Question about parenting. What's the thing you struggle with the most? I guess, like any parent, you struggle with the where do you push, where do you kind of pull back? So take, for example, like your kid goes, I like art. It's really tempting as a parent to be like, you're an artist. And then you give them birthday presents related to art for their entire life. Like, now you're an artist, now you're an artist. And you put all this pressure. So learning how to encourage and call them to be people they might not be on their own, like to encourage them to become somebody, to encourage them to become everything they can be when they're feeling tired or lazy or disappointed or down, I think as a parent is a great thing to call them to, but figuring out where you don't want to push them, where you don't want to suffocate a kid, with like, oh, now you're a runner, now you're this, and put all these labels on your kids. So like inviting them to be who they can really be, but at the same time, not over pressurizing them and putting labels on them that actually suffocate. Okay. What's your process for coming up with ideas, sorting through them, and deciding which ideas are the best? Sean Chandler. Yeah, it's a good question. I wouldn't say that I have a great process yet. I'm going to tilt my camera around so you can see. You see those up on the wall? You see all those? Those are ideas. I mean, right there, see that? That's a page of ideas. So I like to have them around me. I like to be able to write them down quickly and go like, this one says conditional peace is peace based on performance, event, relationship, etc. Like, I don't want conditional peace. Like, I don't want circumstantial peace, because then when my circumstances change, I lose the peace. All right, well, that's an interesting idea. Let me put that up there. And then I try to gather it with a bunch of other ideas. And then I kind of see, is there a big idea here that I can explain that's worth a book? And so, yeah, I think there's some people that have really well-organized idea systems. That's not me. I keep them in, let me see, this notebook. You can see, I got a notebook. So I'll write them down and say, okay, this is really interesting. What do I need to think about? I'll come back to them. I keep track. I love this. I do a monthly tracker. I'll do a video about this at some point. So yeah, I'm deliberate about gathering them, but I wouldn't call it a system in the sense of like, I'm graduating them and moving them around. I'm honing the system. Like right now, I'm in the process of going, okay, how do I make sure that I'm touching the ideas enough, that I'm changing them enough, that I'm growing them enough? So I'm in the process, but it's not perfect yet. Do you have a Lego room? I don't. This room is becoming the Lego room, though. Again, you can see my goal is to slowly work myself up these shelves and down this shelf. The challenge is going to be these books right here, the ones I'm like, boop, 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 boop. Those are Jenny's books. And like, I have probably like 99% of the shelves in my office. And this is like, I think there's like knitting and like what to do if you're in Acadia. And so eventually, like, I'm going to go up top first. Like, that's going to be the Bugatti right there. And then another car up there. But then eventually, boop, 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 those books are got to go. I wish I had a Lego room. I would nerd out so hard if I had a Lego room. Who's the first speaker you saw that inspired you to want to be a speaker? Yeah, my dad. My dad's a pastor, so I grew up watching him communicate, and it was really fun and really encouraging. And then comedians. My dad took me to see Brian Regan when I was old enough to get in the comedy clubs, and I was like, oh, like comedians. And like, you know, we went to Carrot Top too, and I know a lot of people like to clown on Carrot Top, but like, when I was 18, like Carrot Top was killing it and was really funny. And so like, I don't know. I know people like to clown on him, and I'm sure he has his own issues, but like, I thought he was hilarious. So seeing comedians early on was like, what? Nikki 1K, I just started a book of ideas, quotes, thoughts, sketches. And one of your quotes was the very first thing I wrote down. Perfectionism is fear in a tuxedo. Oh, that's awesome. I really appreciate it. That's always super fun to hear. How do you, Alan Fay, how do you tell the difference between knowing the time to end a goal, dream project that isn't working out versus step back and simply approach from a different angle? So Alan, sometimes you don't know. One of my favorite quotes that I put in a book once was, it's hard to read the label when you're inside a bottle. Like when you're inside the bottle, you can't read the label. And I think there's sometimes you're so close to a thing, you need an outside resource to go, homie, dude, it's a wrap. Like you are like, no, it's time to go. Or to say, hey, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, don't quit now. Like, I know the results aren't there yet. I know it's not working yet, but I think if you change some things, it could work. So for me, I'd love to say like, there's a vision quest you go on by yourself, but dude, even the most self-aware person needs other people in their lives to go, hey, there's this thing that you're doing. I don't know if you're doing, you know, you're doing it, but you should change. Or, hey, I see something in you don't see in yourself. I think we need other people. Dean R just pre-ordered the book. Awesome. I'm going to do a video. I'll have a video tomorrow about the book cover and kind of walk through that. So I'm excited about it, but this has been fun. All right. I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for asking questions. I'll keep doing these. I really appreciate you subscribing to my channel. It's brand new for me. YouTube is this like entirely new world that I feel like people have had like a 15-year head start, and I feel like I'm stumbling through the woods. So it's awesome that you guys are along for the ride and are liking and commenting on videos. It's super, super encouraging. I'll keep doing stuff like this if you keep asking such great questions. So have a great rest of your day. We'll do it again in the future, and new book cover. I'll share some more about that tomorrow. Thanks for watching, guys.